Hey guys, Mike here. So today, I'm here to talk to you about 2002's Phone Booth, starring Colin Farrell as Stu Shepard. In Phone Booth, publicist Stu Shepard finds himself locked in a phone booth at the mercy of a sniper who is calling him from the phone booth. And so we have Phone Booth. So guys, today's movie was requested by one of my subscribers, Barbarian Orc, and before watching and reviewing it today, I'd actually not seen it before, so I was actually very grateful for the recommendation. And as well, I didn't really know much about this film either, except for the premise going into it, but I will say that knowing the premise basically tells you everything you need to know about the movie. And though there are some narrative twists and turns, some you see coming, some you don't see coming, for the most part, it pretty much is as advertised, and it doesn't really stray too far away from how it's advertised. But with all that, let's talk about Phone Booth. Pretty much, with Colin Farrell, for the longest time, I never really thought of him too highly as an actor. It's not that I thought that he was bad, it's just when it came to Colin Farrell, he wasn't exactly anyone who I held up in such high regard. That was until I saw the movie In Bruges, which changed my whole perspective on Colin Farrell. And In Bruges for me is one of my all-time favourite movies, and maybe one day I'll end up reviewing it. But in any case, that was the movie that really changed my perspective on Colin Farrell, and seeing him in movies since, he is an incredible actor. And Phone Booth further adds to this, because my god, the performance that Colin Farrell gives in this movie is nothing short of amazing. He starts off as this real slimy sleazebag of a character that, even though he pretty much is a terrible person, you just kind of find yourself drawn to him. His kind of natural charm and charisma really makes him quite a likable character, despite the fact that he is an obvious scumbag. And then it's just throughout the film, as you start peeling back the layers of his character, what makes him tick, why he is the way he is, it just further adds to the character's likability, relatability, and just shows again what an amazing actor that Colin Farrell is. And when most of the movie is just you in a small isolated area where you can't really show much physicality, and you really have to kind of just dig deep down and show the little details of your character to kind of shine through to make your character even stand out. And it just further adds to how amazing this character is that he manages to do all this whilst being contained within a small area. Because honestly, in most of these kind of movies, I never really get too invested in the character. They're either really boring or the situation isn't one that you really get invested in. Whereas in Phone Booth though, character, situation, you feel like you're right there in the middle and you just feel everything that this character's going through. And as this character's getting stripped back more and more, it honestly gets you a bit choked up that this guy's having to bare his soul in front of all these people. So in a nutshell, just Colin Farrell, wow, what a performance. And then you got Kiefer Sutherland, who for the most part is just giving a vocal performance. So basically he, even more so than Colin Farrell, really has like limited options to kind of sell this character. And even though you don't really get to find out anything about this guy because most everything he says is a lie or just a ruse to kind of make Colin Farrell's character do something erratic, you still really kind of gravitate towards him, even though arguably his character is much more of a worse person than Colin Farrell's character. Nevertheless, you still find yourself getting drawn to him. And as well, I didn't really know that Forrest Whitaker was going to be in this film, and I wouldn't say that he really excels in this role or really bogs it down. He's pretty much just up to the usual Forrest Whitaker standard. Basically, just a welcome addition to the film. And honestly, watching this film now, in present day, it could have come across as super dated. The fact that in the introduction they say that 3 million New Yorkers have cell phones, and nowadays pretty much nearly every single person in the Western world has a mobile phone. Honestly, I'm just old enough to remember phone booths actually being used, but even me myself, I've never used a phone booth. And in my local area, I think there's like literally only one, and I have actually no idea whether it's actually still in use. I mean, probably a lot of kids nowadays, when you say phone booth to them, they'll be like, what's a phone booth? And then you pretty much like to them, oh kids, you have no idea the things we had to do back in our day. Even still, with all these things kind of going against it, it doesn't really feel that dated. Sure, there are some kind of transitional effects and camera techniques that do feel very early 2000s. For the most part, this film still feels like it could have been released today. Though I imagine if this film was released today, they would have really leaned so heavy into talking about like old phone booths. Because obviously when this film came out, like I said, phone booths were still in effect. So they didn't really have to explain what a phone booth was to anyone. It was just phone booths are used. Though if this film came out today, they would have had to really go into probably more detail about how it functioned in their modern world. But as well, going back to some of the camera techniques, there were some which I thought were incredible. Like in multiple points of the film, they do this kind of comic book strip effect where they have like kind of different angles all on the screen at the same time. Because normally in these fast moving movies, they'll have like a cut to different things constantly, and it kind of makes it hard to focus on anything that's going on. Because there are so many different things going on at once, and they have to kind of show it and also show that it's all kind of happening at the same time. When they do this, it makes it feel quite jarring. Whereas in this film, when they show multiple things happening at once, they show it all on the screen at the same time, and it doesn't really feel distracting. It just feels like it's giving you relevant information, showing you what's happening at all times, and it's just really clear-cut and brilliantly done. And they're not too flashy with it either. I mean, it's not like Ang Lee's Hulk, where they kind of just feel like they're doing it to pay homage to comic books, and it doesn't really feel like it fits into the story all that well. It doesn't really feel like it's trying to show you different things all at once. It just feels like it's there for flash. Whereas in Phone Booth, it's the complete opposite. It feels like it's showing you relevant information all the time. And as well, for the pacing, this movie is brilliantly paced, because this film is definitely shorter than the average movie, because the average movie clocks in about an hour and a half, an hour and 40. This movie is an hour and 20 minutes long, which may not seem like much losing 10 minutes, but it really helps kind of move the story along, but at the same time, not feel like everything's just being rushed to kind of get to the finish line. It feels evenly paced, whilst at the same time, always feels like it's moving forward as well. Overall, guys, even though I knew I was going to like this film, I had no idea how much I was going to like this film. All the performances were really good, the cinematography was solid, the story was interesting, fast moving, and always kept your attention, and this was just a really enjoyable film to watch. But do I think you guys should watch this one? Absolutely. If you haven't seen Phone Booth, then I would highly recommend that you should check it out. So in short, I'm very happy I watched this film. I recommend that you should watch it, and I'm very happy as well that it was recommended to me. Okay guys, that's my review of Phone Booth. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think I should watch next? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!